We're ready. This video was released literally just 1 hour ago. Apparently, it's from Lorinity, which is a phenomenal content creator for Guild Wars 2. I actually really like her videos. This one is about Guild Wars 2 biggest problems. Now, we've seen such a title from Mukluk before, and it was about the clutter inside of Guild Wars 2, which I guess it's a huge problem, but to be honest, it's not even remotely close to being the biggest one. So I really wonder what she's going to talk about. I haven't gotten a chance to just, take a look at this video. So I'm really hoping to hear some real issues inside of the game.
Oh boy, this is gonna be a spicy one. Hey there YouTube, it's the Manessy, and as a lot of you know, I really like Guild Wars 2. But
Damn.
sometimes that can give people some interesting ideas.
Lara is clearly a Guild Wars 2 shill.
Lara can't see the problems with
Lara's
the game.
never.
What does Lara play RuneScape?
Okay, no, seriously.
Okay, you know what? We're gonna take her word for it. If she's gonna actually be critical of Guild Wars 2 in this video, yeah, I'm gonna praise her. I'm gonna praise. But to be honest, I highly doubt anyone in cahoots with ArenaNet would actually dare speaking against them, because they know they would immediately be turned into a pariah and they would get outright banned for it.
I get it. Guild Wars 2 is like my favorite game ever, but that doesn't mean it's perfect and that there's nothing to improve about it. I talk about possible improvements on Twitch all the time, but not as much on YouTube. So today we are changing that. It is time for Dark Lara to unleash. No, I'm joking. Today I want to talk about the biggest problems in Guild Wars 2 and how to fix them.
There is nothing to be critical about Guild Wars 2, to be honest. Sure, of course. What? It's the perfect game. That's why World of Warcraft is vastly more popular after all of these years, because Guild Wars 2 is absolutely perfect. But I mean, I'm not gonna start a WoW versus Guild Wars 2 war here, but at the same time, Guild Wars 2 is far from being perfect. There's so many issues inside of the game, and the Zaitan fight is probably the biggest one for new players.
Not in a YouTuber rage baity kind of way, but in a constructive criticism kind of way. Relatively easy.
So that means she's going to walk on eggshells because she doesn't want to lose her partnership with ArenaNet. That was, what she was referring to here.
He wins.
In case you haven't caught it.
Community very happy. And if at the end of the video you are tired of hearing me complain, I am also working on a video talking about all the best things about Guild Wars 2.
Of
the
course,
reasons it
you
is
gotta
my
balance that
MMO
out.
Choice. It's kind of like a compliment sandwich. Although I guess that one part is missing. It doesn't matter. Let's get started. Everyone quits at level 80. First, I would like to talk about Guild Wars 2's onboarding.
There it is!
Getting new players into the game. Because, oh boy, there are some problems here. I actually think Guild Wars 2's early game holds up really well. Leveling and exploring is just fun, and what a—
Leveling what? You kill one mob and you level 80. There is no leveling inside of Guild Wars 2. What are we talking about? It's not slow, it's way too fast. It's overwhelming because you get like 700 different gifts, and if you're actually new to Guild Wars 2, you might not even pay attention that you had them. You just see a flying thing here over your map, and you're like, oh, damn, I had that this entire time? And then you feel like an idiot and you quit anyway. I mean, it is what it is. New player retention, there we go. Yeah, it is. We're about to say it. Thinking ArenaNet bans you if you're critical of their game is kind of nonsense. Brother, have you been living under a rock? Haven't you seen how they neutered every single major Guild Wars 2 content creator, especially those who are affiliated with them inside of their partnership program? Haven't you seen the entire Rose situation? I mean, what are we talking about here? Of course they would ban you if you act this way. Yeah, like, what? To pretend it's not the case, it's just delusional. And don't get me wrong, you can say, oh, I agree with their bans, and that's a completely different discussion, but to say that they're not banning you, it's proven to be fake. So you're just wrong, straight up.
Maps from 2012 don't look quite as good as the newer ones. I think the art style still carries them. But unfortunately, a lot of players never get past the early game. They all seem to quit once they hit level 80. And I think there are several reasons as to why.
Zaitan!
Guild Wars 2 is a game with a lot of freedom. Once you hit max level, you can kind of just do whatever you want. And that can be kind of overwhelming. What are you supposed to do next? Well, I just so happen to have an amazing video.
Damn, that was a self-publication there. I did not expect. But yeah, she's absolutely right about that. Because whenever I was new and I asked a Guild Wars 2 player, okay, what should I do now? They told me, you can do anything you want. And that is extremely confusing, especially for a dumb person such as myself who came from World of Warcraft, who have absolutely no idea about this game, and I had no idea what to do. So I thought, oh, I can do anything? Like, what does that mean? And I guess this is kind of the advantage vertical MMOs do have over horizontal ones, is that you're naturally being introduced to the objectives that you currently need to do. And that's one major advantage. So Guild Wars 2 should do something, I guess, to guide players, just to kind of, you know, maybe introduce them to fractals, maybe do something that makes a little bit more sense. You know, go through the dungeons, or of course slow the leveling. They should do a lot of things. And there's plenty of ways they can implement that, but unfortunately they're like, oh, you know what? Here's everything, like choose whatever you want, which for some people is good, but I think that for most players, especially one like me, it's not that great.
Explaining that. But not every new player watches my videos. Huge mistake. But yeah, in WoW and Final Fantasy, it's always clear what to do next.
There it is.
You just level up,
There it
or
is.
you get better gear. In those games, there's always a clear carrot on a stick. But in Guild Wars 2, there are multiple carrots. Which carrot do you
Rose wasn't banned because of his criticism. You're wrong about that. Because what they did is mask their ban behind some frivolous reason, because obviously he wasn't banned from YouTube. And the same reason Twitch banned him is the same reason Guild Wars 2 banned him. And they just rode on that, you know, cringe joke that he told to just kind of say, oh, you know what? That's the reason. But it's not it. It's because they actually wanted him inside of their program, I think, and they had an ArenaNet developer inside of his streams. And Rose, if you actually was a part of his stream, you know that he doesn't give special treatment to anyone. So whenever an ArenaNet developer doesn't get his personal treatment and be put on a pedestal because they want to be above everybody, because that's what these type of people are, yeah, they're immediately gonna throw a hissy fit and they put a target on his back, and they just waited for the right moment to ban him. Once you've hit 80 and you don't want to PvP ward versus ward or instant, you just continue with the story. Yeah, I mean, but the fact that you have the options to do all of this at once, it's very confusing. I mean, it is what it is.
choose? When I was a young child, I once went to an ice cream store, and I got so overwhelmed by all the choices that I left the store crying. I think that's what's happening to many new Guild Wars 2 players. I really think we need some kind of beginner quest that kicks off once you're at level 80, that sort of shows players what there is to do in the game.
I agree.
Let them try different ice cream flavors so they can pick their favorites. I think that could really help people stick with the game. For many players, their first goal is to continue the story and get to the expansions. But that can also be a bit of a struggle. The personal story is very long, and in my opinion, it's a bit mid, especially near
A bit. Okay, she was generous there. You could literally cut the story by half and it would still make the same much like sense and information as it would have with an extra 50%. You can literally just cut it by half. I remember one mission where all I had to do was stand on a beach and wait for 20 minutes. I didn't even have to fight. I just stood there. Like, that's it. That was the entire quest. So just remove it. What's the point of it? Just let me see the cool parts that I actually am interested in. And of course, rehold the Zaitan fight. Like, rework it from the ground up.
the ends. Then you get to Season 1, which is free. Then you get to Season 2.
Yeah, you see the same thing from people on YouTube. Guild Wars 2 need to be better for new player visual clutter because they're being careful of what they're saying because they don't want to lose their partnership with ArenaNet. At the end of the day, this is a job for some people. You need to understand that. People would never risk their livelihood, especially if they're like Mukluk, which has, you know, he has a wife and a kid, right? You would never want to put yourself in a position of being at risk just because you want to say the right thing, right? Because you always care about yourself first and then about the truth. It's reality. It is what it is. It's human nature. That's why I'm not calling them out for it, and I'm not going to like say, oh, they should really do that and do this, because I understand. If I were at their position, I most likely would have done the same thing. Now, the way I avoid it is I already not put myself in their position. I said, if I ever grow big enough on Guild Wars 2, Not that I really plan to, right? I'm doing MMO and stuff, and my most successful stuff is World of Warcraft and Where Winds Meet. But if I ever grow to a point where ArenaNet actually offers me partnership with them, I would never take that. And the same thing with World of Warcraft and Blizzard, because I don't want to be tied down to a company. It just makes you the worst version of yourself. I do not want to be like one of those streamers who now have to muzzle themselves because they are in cahoots with a big company.
Which is a separate purchase, and only then do you get to the first expansion. I think many players buy Heart of Thorns without realizing that for the full story experience, you also need to buy Season 2.
Yeah, the Rose ban was 100% deserved. You're allowed to think that. I think they should have banned him too. Just not permanently. Like, why did you remove his account? That was the weird part. I don't get it. Okay, you want to ban him? Cool. Ban him for 1 week. Ban him for a month. Ban him for 6 months, okay? Don't remove his account. Don't take all the achievements that he worked so hard to achieve inside of your game while publicizing your games to the masses, because I haven't really enjoyed any Guild Wars 2 content creator like I've enjoyed Rose's videos. So it's such a damn shame that they hurt themselves so much in the process.
And I think that just feels kinda bad. It's not a good first impression. So all of this means that many new players never even get to Heart of Thorns. So really, I would love to see them make that early road to Heart of Thorns more smooth. Maybe make Season 2 free and give fresh level 80s some clearer directions. I think stuff like that could really help grow the player base long term. Visual clutter. Do you all ever feel like it's just kind of hard?
I think I'm gonna skip that part. I know. It's the same argument over and over again. I don't want to hear it again. I don't want to hear it again. It's such a light tap on the wrist. Of course, it's a problem. Yeah, they should fix it. I know.
About risking murdering my teammates. DUI.
Oh, thank you. Oh, God. Oh, I'm vindicated. I am vindicated. Whenever I spoke about Guild Wars 2 garbage UI, people have always called me out for it. Now she's going to talk about it, and I want to see what you guys say.
On the topic of visual clarity, oh gosh, Guild Wars 2 has a bit of a UI problem. Don't get me wrong, I actually really like the way the UI looks. It's got this beautiful painterly aesthetic, and for the most part, it is really easy to understand. But when you get deeper into the game, problems start to appear. And the biggest of those problems is the buff bar. Dun
Yes.
dun dun! On the buff bar, you can see your boons, conditions, and general buffs. And gosh, if there is one thing I could change about Guild Wars 2, it would be this. It is time for a rant, everyone. First of all, the buffs are just really small. I'm guessing that's when designing the game, they didn't want this to be World of Warcraft.
You know what else is really small? You know what? I'm not big enough on YouTube to say that. But it's so crazy that finally I'm being vindicated by Larinity. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Because you cannot see any boon or debuff whatsoever. And it's worse when it's on a boss, because there was a boss I fought that had special mechanic, and I literally couldn't understand what I needed to do, because she had some sort of a buff on her, I guess a buff, whatever you can call it, some sort of a status effect on her that I needed to read, but I couldn't, because I was like trying to hover it with my mouse and play at the same time, and I'm like, I can click on it, I can see. It's so annoying. They have to fix it. Apparently it is hard-coded into the game, and they can't, but I don't know. Maybe they need to do something about it, because, I mean, it's getting out of hand. It's such a really weird UI. I mean, it is what it is, unfortunately. GeneralApple streams, yay, thank you, brother. Welcome, welcome.
Crafts with floating bars.
What? Rose's entire content completely rides on him, making sometimes highly inappropriate jokes. Not exactly the kind of publicity you want for your game. Yeah, I guess you're kind of right about that, but at the same time, it's different content. You need to realize that not everyone who plays Guild Wars 2 think the same. I know, because I like edgy jokes sometimes, right? I grew up in the era of Filthy Frank. So if you know Filthy Frank or his doings in the past, you know which type of content makes me laugh. And Rose content did exactly that. It was a nice change of pace. And now what you can see whenever you type Guild Wars 2 in your search bar is the same milquetoast rundown content you've seen for a decade. It's not enough. It's not enough to bring in new players, it's not enough to bring in a new crowd, and it's not enough to satisfy the current climate. I know, because I'm not satisfied with Guild Wars 2 video. That's why I'm reacting to Guild Wars 2 videos on such a slow pace, because nothing that comes out from this game is entertaining to me. I don't like to watch them. The only ones that I watch are from Larinity, but everyone is like trying to be like her, or everyone is making the same content, so I just rather watch her and Muckluck and not touch any of the other content creators.
Everywhere.
Was gone for a bit, or people whining about my ban? Don't scroll up. It's okay. Everyone said that you're vindicated. We love you. Don't worry about that. Yeah. And they also said that your head is full of hair.
I have a fucking panic attack looking at this.
Oh my god!
They probably wanted the UI to be minimal, so
Yeah, as a Guild Wars 2 player, Rose content was the exact thing I needed. I know. You like your edge. It's okay. People are different. I love all type of videos, okay? I love Larinity videos, I love Muckluck videos, I love Rose videos. You don't have to be constrained into one formula and like, oh, okay, you know, I love this, so I can't love the other thing. That's not the case. It was never that black and white. You can love everything in between. It's fine. But you need to diversify, because getting to eat the same meal every single day gets stale. That's the problem. It just gets stale.
that you look at the gameplay instead of at the UI. However, in higher level content, certain buffs are really important. It's really important to know if you have stability or a certain boss debuff. And a lot of the newer weapons have mini games where you have to keep track of certain buffs. And when the buffs are really small,
Really?
I actually find myself looking at the UI more instead of less. Because I can't just glance over at a large buff. I have to like search for it. A really good example of this is the Elementalist pistol weapon. On this weapon you get bullets of certain elements and then you can spend them. It's a really cool idea, but it's so difficult to see if you have these bullets mid-combat. There are a ton of buffs in your buff bar, and these really important ones are just in there somewhere. Why do these two look so similar? And they're all jumping around constantly too.
Yeah, that's the major issue. The fact that they jump around constantly, because I was trying to read a boon and like the time ran out. I'm like, oh, what am I doing? So I tried to click it again and it popped in a different position and I completely lost myself. I was just like, okay, you know what? Let's blaze through it and that's it.
Now it's over there. Now it's over there. Do I have a fire bullet or not? I think this weapon would be...
Sometimes you just want to watch other people be stupid at the game. Why do you think I'm here for? Why do you think I came all the way from the glorious World of Warcraft, the pinnacle of MMOs, to Guild Wars 2? If not to use my dodge button, of course.
Be way more fun to play if I could just easily see if I had certain bullets. So I wish that these weapons would have their own custom UI, or maybe that we could show these important buffs somewhere else in a separate bar. And I also wish there was a setting to give boons a static location. There are only 12
Yes.
boons, so you could have a setting where each boon just stays in the same place and you just have gaps between them. That way you can
Just to clarify, like Rose, I'm sorry, brother, you don't need to justify yourself here. You're allowed to have an opinion here. You see, that's the beauty of this channel. You're allowed to state your opinion, and you're allowed to be at odds with other people. It's okay. You don't have to think the same. It's completely fine. And you can see why company don't want his content. I understand, but you also need to understand that diversifying is important. You need to do stuff that you unnecessarily like to make sure your company is successful. So for example, the current Wine Mom VP that World of Warcraft has is completely butchering the game. Why? Because she's trying to pander to people who thinks like her. And you know who this modern audience is, right? Now, essentially by doing so, she's killing the game from the inside. Because now no new player is coming into the game. Because they don't want to play, you know, a demasculinized version of a game that used to be all about barbaric savagery, ruthlessness, and all of the sort. So, essentially, the game is just dying slowly. It's hemorrhaging players, and no one new is coming in. So it's just a matter of years until World of Warcraft would eventually meet a demise. Guild Wars 2 is going to meet the same fate. You're gonna run out of people because no new players are coming in, and old players will eventually just quit. You can't squeeze the same community for eternity. It never works that way. And maybe that's why they're aiming for Guild Wars 3 or just like a major update to the second game. But I don't think they can pull in new players, keep playing the game like that.
Quickly see if you have stability without having to search for a jumping list of near identical.
Yeah, and it's also fine if it's not for you. Exactly. Like, exactly. Not every content should be for you. 100%.
Icons. And while I am on this UI rant, I just wish we could customize the UI a little bit more. In other MMOs, I always like to put the more important
Yeah, a company doesn't really have a say in who or what type of person enjoys their content. That is such a great comment. That is such a great comment from GBE. It's a phenomenal comment. I love that. It's true. Companies don't get to decide who enjoys their content. You just have to make sure, like, players have the freedom to do whatever they want, of course within certain limitations, obviously, and you'll get a beautiful community because you have a tapestry. A tapestry cannot be made with one thread. You need multiple.
stuff near the center of my screen, so I don't have to look very far away from the gameplay. This is especially useful if you have an ultra-wide monitor. Oh, and here's another one. You know auto tech chains? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. For some builds, if you want to play them at a higher level, it's really important not to interrupt an auto tech chain. Sometimes most of the damage is in the third skill, so if you spend time casting 1 and 2, but not 3, that is a large DPS loss. I find this really annoying to keep track of in the middle of gameplay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Wait, are we at 2 or are we at 3? I would
Oh,
really
she wants
like
a number?
It if there
Yeah,
was
that's
a
fair.
setting to make the third cast bar look slightly different. Maybe give it a border or a special color. That would make it a lot easier for newer players to do well, and it would also make the game a lot less annoying to play. It may sound like I am kind of nitpicking here, and honestly I am. But I think all of these
Because you don't want to talk about the glaring issues within the game, which, guys, I'm really contemplating whether I should say it or not, because we've gone through this a million times, but I'm going to say it anyway. The lack of class identity inside of Guild Wars 2, it needs to be talked about, but nobody's doing it except me. And you know what? I love taking all the heat from it, because it just makes me fun, you know? It makes my opinion stand out above the rest, because I'm actually willing to talk about these problems.
changes would make the game
Here we go. No, we already done that. I'm not going to do it again. I'm most likely in the future going to make like a full video on that, but it's not going to be today, brother.
less annoying, and they would let us focus more on the gameplay and less on the UI. Oh, and while we're at it, I would also just like to see more UI in general. Recently, the game has been adding some really awesome long requested features. There is now raid and fractal quick play, letting you queue with a random party of players, and they also added a portal tome, which combines all of your portal scrolls into one.
Oh,
but
damn,
these
nice.
features share one problem. They don't have their own dedicated UI. Raid and fractal quick play are buttons buried deep in the LFG panel, and the portal tome is a long, annoying dialogue tree. Both of these features are good, but they would be even better if they just had their own window. Imagine a nice portal UI and a quick play window with 2 shiny buttons and a clear reward displays. I think if you make quick play easier to find, a lot more new players will actually give it a shot.
True.
Oh gosh, y'all, I feel like I'm
Honestly, the lack of class identity wasn't something I thought about until you kept bringing it up in your videos. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be of service. And you know what? I believe that the more that I preach about this nonsense, more and more people would be inclined to actually listen. Because right now, the Guild Wars 2 community always hates me when I talk about this. But one day they're gonna learn, boy. They gonna learn.
complaining a lot in this video. Feel free to take a break if you think I'm complaining too much. But for now, speaking of raiding, boss health. And it's another spicy one. Balance in MMOs is
Wait, why'd she say boss
notoriously
health?
hard. And in my opinion, Guild Wars 2 actually does a pretty good job at it. But recently, there has been one thing. I think a lot of the recent bosses just have too much health. HP numbers have
Oh man, what do you mean with class identity? Think all the classes are quite distinct from each other? Brother, I know you're trying to bait me into like going into this discussion again, but I would turn this 16-minute video into a 2-hour-long one if we start that train rolling. And we don't want to go that route. We don't want to go that route because I have a lot to say about that. I did it the previous stream. it went great.
a huge impact on what content feels
What do you mean Guild Wars 2? Class, self-identity is an identity, and that should be good enough. True. True. I should identify myself as Azura so I get free access to all the portals.
like. Give a boss too little health and everyone will complain that it's too easy. But give it too much health and everyone will complain that it's a HP sponge. I actually think large HP numbers are totally fine in difficult challenge mode content. If the fight is really engaging and you really have to lock in to meet the DPS check, that can be fun sometimes. But recently, we've been seeing a lot of high HP numbers in open world and normal modes. In the words of the great Professor Oak, there is a time and place for everything, but not now. Starlit Wheels, Inner Nios, Shipwreck Strand, these are all meta events that I find myself avoiding sometimes, just because it feels like a bit of a slog. If they had just like 20% less HP, I would probably enjoy them more.
Yeah, fair enough. I wouldn't say it's like that major of an issue. I think it can be easily fixed, but I would say, generally speaking, if the mechanic is intricate and really complex to understand, then make the boss health lower to kind of balance that out. But if the boss is just a DPS check, then obviously give him higher health, like the boss from Next Ramus, Patches? No, that's what's the guy waltzing around. What was the abomination name from Next Ramus? I forgot. Like, you guys gotta know that. But anyway, Patchwork, that was his name, right? So, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, sorry, boomer memory, but at the same time, like, yeah, he had huge health, and it was essentially a DPS check before he goes into Berserk mode and completely annihilates everyone. So, it kind of makes sense in that regard, but if the mechanic is really rich, then yeah, you should make his pull lower. 100%.
In normal mode raids, too much HP can straight up make a boss too difficult for the average raider. The recent crab boss Kira is a really fun fight, but because she has so much HP, a lot of players skip her entirely. What do you mean 3-star difficulty? And I honestly don't understand why normal mode needs to be this hard. Now before you go to the comment section and type "Washed, Raider, Loranity doesn't know what she's talking about," I have actually killed it on challenge mode, but I still think the normal mode has too much health. Another great example of this is 2025's Greer. This boss has so much health that a lot of players—
Rose, that comment is premium. Identify as unbanned. I literally got a glance of it and I tried not to laugh, but that shit is so funny.
struggle with the 10-minute timer. And even if you manage to kill it, a boss that takes 10 minutes is just really exhausting. It would just be more fun if the boss had less health. Recently, it's felt as if there are some bosses that have a challenge mode and a challenge mode light. I'm kind of just missing the normal modes. I wish ArenaNet would be a little bit more open to going back and tweaking some of these health numbers.
Am I the ones who is against difficulties in general? I really hate normal, heroic, mythic in World of Warcraft as well. I think it should be abolished. I don't think you should have one difficulty. I think every raid should be like Old War back in the day, where you had essentially one difficulty, but when you did something inside of the raid, you unlocked a special version of that boss that is way more difficult, and the loot was actually propped up to match it. And it was so good. It was truly Blizzard peak at raid design. I'm very surprised no other game has done this after them.
Why does this keep happening? ArenaNet just announced that with the upcoming balance patch, they're not only nerfing a bunch of classes, but they're also nerfing a whole bunch of HP in newer expansions. We have to see what it actually feels like, but it does look like they're looking into it. So, very happy about that. And now, back to past Loranity. The fights themselves are actually very well designed in my opinion, and I think it's just a shame that so many players end up skipping them. Inventory hell. Alright, I know what you're thinking. Skill issue. Why does every streamer have an ugly inventory? I know. I'm not exactly known for my beautiful inventories, but that is not actually what I want to talk about here.
Yeah, that's such a huge problem, man. Inventory management inside of that game. At least I bought the storage expansion, which cost real life money, unfortunately. And it's like PoE. It doesn't feel like you actually can skip on it. It really feels like pay to win sometimes. And yes, you can like do with all the clutter and actually make do, but it's going to be very difficult and it's going to essentially make your entire experience a living nightmare. So you might as well just purchase it and be done with it. And it is unfortunate. I really wish they would stop giving you so much loot. It's just way too much.
I want to talk about inventory management for
Yeah,
noob.
you use pay to win in Guild Wars 2 Rare L, I know. I had to say it. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of people, for some reason, in the Guild Wars 2 community think that pay for convenience isn't pay to win. Well, let me tell you something, brother. Pay for convenience is always pay to win. Now, if you want to fight me over that, I'll die on that hill. Every single time. So if you want to call me out for it, it's okay, baby. I already know.
Players. Because
You
when
paid
you're
for that
new,
bank
I
extension, didn't
honestly
you?
think it's kind of rough. Recently, I did a stream where I rated my viewers' inventories, and I love the more ugly inventory.
Isn't that how it works already in Guild Wars 2? I don't know. I haven't done Guild Wars 2 bosses. I just said it in the context of, like, World of Warcraft. But, yeah, 100%. I'm not really sure. I should do rating in Guild Wars 2 before I actually make an opinion about that specifically. But I said it in the context of World of Warcraft.
Stories were actually from new players that don't have any bank space. You started the game with only one bank tab, and I think that that's just not enough. Personally,
Thank
I have
you.
like 15 bank tabs, and
Yes.
while I don't really need all of those, I think it would be really difficult to play the game with only one. And especially as a new player, you don't have any idea which items are worthless and which items are important and using your precious bank space for.
Just to be clear, pay for convenience, pay to win is, like, worse, better than being monthly subscription. Brother, let me explain something to you. You don't need to compare everything to World of Warcraft. I know that WoW sucks balls, okay? I know that. It's okay, I understand. But the fact that WoW sucks doesn't mean that Guild Wars 2 need to suck, okay? That's the logic behind it. So if one game is terrible, another game cannot afford itself to be less terrible. It needs to be better.
And another big problem that I think a lot of veterans are not aware of is actually birthday gifts. When players return to the game, they sometimes get like 7 of these birthday gifts at once. And then they get excited and they open them because hooray, free goodies! But then their inventory gets filled with all these items they have no idea what to do with. And often they don't have any bank space to keep them in. So many players just get overwhelmed.
Yeah, there are way too many convenience items in Guild Wars 2. You have like a personal bank, personal mail, personal whatever. You have a teleport to friend, all of that stuff. It's just way too much. It is just way too much. And it's so confusing too because I kept everything I got in my bank and I'll never use it probably. So it's just really bad. I think they should just remove it.
And immediately log off. I would really like to see new players start off with 2 or maybe 3 bank tabs instead. Alright, and that was all the problems in Guild Wars 2 that I wanted to talk about today. I don't think any of these problems actively ruin the game, otherwise
Because you haven't spoken about the true problems that actually ruin the games, like immersion being destroyed by no class fantasy whatsoever, or, you know, the Zaitan fight. But if you spoke about those, you would have understand. But I guess not.
Wouldn't play this game nearly as much. But they are all things that I would love to see the studio focusing on more, and I think the game could improve a lot by addressing these. If you have any other ideas that you think could improve the game, feel free to drop by my Twitch channel.
Overhaul the Zaitan fight! And for the love of God, delete Bram. Just do it. Literally do it.
That's over at twitch.tv/Lemanity, and we can discuss those too. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.
Okay, great. I mean, a great video by Larinity. I'm gonna obviously leave a link in the description so you guys can watch it for yourself. I mean, great video as always, but at the same time, she clearly avoided all of the glaring issues inside of Guild Wars 2, and it's such a damn shame. I really wish someone would talk about them more often, because whenever I speak about them, everyone calls me a degenerate WoW player, and you know, they're actually right, so I can't really refute what they say. But at the same time, I really wish some Guild Wars 2 player that is actually a prominent figure inside of the game would call them out for it. Well, there was one, but he's in my chat now, so I guess that doesn't say a lot now, right? So it's really just weird situation where you really want the game to be better because you love it, but at the same time they put a muzzle on anyone who dares speak against their game. It just created a really frustrating situation, and it's so unfortunate because I truly believe that Guild Wars 2 community is one of the best of the MMO games out there. And I played almost every single MMORPG game under the sun, and I truly think that the Guild Wars 2 community is the best. They're so welcoming, and they're actually willing to listen to different opinions, because whenever I spoke against something inside of the game, they always welcomed my opinion, even though they disagreed with it.